Okay, in 17, here what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the equation in vertex form, and vertex form is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. The nice thing about vertex form is you're going to be able to locate your vertex, because the vertex here is the point h comma k. Okay. So we can do that using the process of completing the square, which is what we just reviewed in question 15 and 16. So in this problem here, we're going to want to complete the square with the x squared and x term, just like we did in question 15 and 16. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate those two terms in parentheses. And I'm going to leave a space for that third term. You notice we have this minus 5, which is not part of this particular trinomial, at least not the third term that we were looking for. We're going to leave that on the outside, but then we're also going to need to compensate for this term that we create here. So I'm going to leave a space over here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take half of the 10. Take half of the 10. Sorry. You're going to get 5, and then you're going to square the 5, and you're going to get 25. So that third term here is going to be a 25. Now, we're going to need to compensate for that. Actually, this is a positive 25 there. But we just added 25 to this side of the equation. And so we would actually need to add 25 to this side of the equation, but I really don't want to do that. So instead, we're going to bring that term back over to this side, so that'll be a minus 25. So if we were to just simplify this expression here, you will notice that this 25 actually cancels with that 25, and you would get right back to what you started with. But we don't actually want to go ahead and cancel that. What we do want to do is we want to go ahead and factor this trinomial into something squared, just like we did in question 15 and 16. So in this case, this is x plus, because the middle term is positive, and the last term here needs to be 5, because the first term squared gets you this term, and the last term squared gets you the last term here. Okay, and then you just combine up these last two terms, and that gets you a negative 30. And now this is in vertex form. We've got an a value of 1, we've got an h, which would actually be negative 5 because the sign would be opposite, and then our k there would be negative 30. We're going to do one last one. This time you will notice that there's a coefficient of a on this one. Oops, sorry. Let me move this over a little bit. Okay, there we go, that'll help. So we have a coefficient of a here. So we're going to need to pull that a out of those two terms. So in this case we have a 2 out in front, and I'm going to write our parentheses here, which will be where we complete the square, and that positive 6, which is not part of the completing the square process, will be on the outside. So now we got to take this 2 out of both of these terms, because before you complete the square, the x squared has to just be a 1x squared. But if you take a 2 out of 2x squared, you just get the x squared. But now we also have to take 2 out of the 12. So when you do that, 2 out of positive 12 gets you positive 6x. You notice if we redistribute this, we get right back to where we started. 2 times 2x is 2x squared. 2 times 6x gets you 12x. And then the parentheses would be gone and left with a plus 6. So we need to come up with this third term here. So we're going to do half of 6, which gets you 3. Then we have to square that, and that'll get you 9. So this is going to be a positive 9. Now we're going to need to compensate with that for that 9 over here. But if you notice, this really isn't a positive 9, because if you really go through and distribute this 2 to all the terms, 2 times x squared is 2x squared, 2 times 6x is 12x, 2 times 9 is actually a positive 18. So that's really the change that we made here, which means you would really want to add 18 to this side of the equation. But because we want this to stay y, we're not going to do that. Instead, what we're going to do is bring it over to this side and subtract it off. This is probably the hardest step. The final step is actually quite easy. Okay. Let me fold this over for you, or move this up a little bit for you. So in the final step here, we get y equals your a, which is 2. This trinomial square is a binomial squared, and that's going to be x, middle term's positive, so this is positive, and what times itself gets you 9? That's 3. And then we just combine these two terms together, and we get negative 12. So there is our equation in vertex 4. Okay.